we are going to discuss the SPLC has been taking everybody's money and perpetuating the racism they vowed to destroy. You become what you hate. So welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, as we like to call it, the Tri-F podcast, where we try not to mess the podcast up. How are you gentlemen today?
I'm rolling.
Trevor?
I have pie.
You have pie. Okay. Well, on that beautiful, wonderful, stupendous, deep statement, you do have pie. Now I'm jealous and hungry. How dare you?
Apple pie.
Yep.
You actually have pie?
He actually has pie. He literally has pie.
I really thought he was full of shit.
I didn't believe him, and yet here we are. You jerk.
It just says random things
pie
all the time, so I'm like, whatever you said is probably ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he actually had pie. I'm impressed. 3.14. Let's go.
3.14. Here we go. All right, so here's what was announced. Here's what was announced earlier this week.
Hey, look, it's catching.
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups.
Yes.
But what happens when these groups dismantle the groups that they're trying to dismantle?
They just pay them. They don't ever dismantle them. It's a fight without end.
Right, but what happens if they actually dismantle the groups?
The institution ceases to exist.
Oh, wow. So they have to propagate their existence by committing psyops.
Exactly. Yes. You're right. Yeah.
Wow.
An institution exists to perpetuate itself.
Mm.
Wonder of wonders.
I have a question.
Yes.
What does ESPLC, whatever it
SPLC?
is,
This is the
what does it stand
Southern
for?
Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center is kind of like, it's like a later version of Media Matters. And these guys basically declare everybody racist. This is the kind of think tank NGO bunch that are always accusing everybody and the dog of, hating some minority. So, Charlie Kirk was a racist. Matt Walsh was a racist. Glenn Beck is a racist. Your mom is a racist. Your chickens are racist.
My chickens are racist.
Your dogs are racist. It's that bunch. And so they, sit there and go, give us money. We're going to end racism. And then they give that money to the KKK. So, wonder of wonders. And from what I understand, they also, funded Charlottesville. So they've been funding the quote-unquote alt-right and the extreme right this entire time. It's like a whodunit.
White ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a whodunit, and everybody saw the ending anyway, and it was still boring when the twist came. So
yeah,
It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to.
Sorry, what? What'd you say, Trevor?
Oh, I was just singing "Do the Twist."
Oh, do the twist. Okay. All right. Hang in there, buddy.
Oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred. The indictment describes this conduct in detail, but one troubling example is that the SPLC was paying a member of the leadership group that planned the Unite the Right protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of 1 person and injured dozens more. This particular person being paid by the SPLC allegedly received approximately $270,000 over the course of 8 years. In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least
Vistaprint prints everything to
Hey,
get your
look,
brand
an
in front
ad!
of your fans,
I'm so
like
happy.
t-shirts,
What
water
an
bottles,
ad.
and totes.
An ad to end all
I want
ads.
to print
These
stuff.
individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan.
Sorry, what?
I want to print stuff.
Well, too bad. Printing's antiquated. So yeah, so they funded the Ku Klux Klan.
United Klans of America,
The Ku Klux
National
Klan.
Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front.
Wait,
Now,
they funded all
as the
these?
indictment lays out,
Yes. Yes, they did.
They created evil organizations?
Yes.
Like, it's so silly, dude.
I know. It's almost like it's a giant money racket.
You almost can't make this stuff up, but you can.
Yes. Yep, that's right. Was it reality is stranger than fiction?
after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with one count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation. This investigation is...
All right, so we're going to call it good there. So, first thing I want to point out, you know who wouldn't have given a press conference and announced this and make a big show of it if they were still here? You know who wouldn't?
Patel.
Pam Bondi! You know,
Oh.
the crazy woman that was fired, and wonder of wonders, 2 weeks after this, now we're actually hearing about the NGO stuff again. It's almost like she was a saboteur. And this is why we kept giving Trump so much crap about it. It's not like I hate Trump, but, you know, he hires... The man means well, I think, but he hires stupid people sometimes. Saboteurs, because he doesn't want to admit that this is like actually a conspiracy and organized. And, you know, when he gets rid of the bad actors, when he gets rid of the deep state people and the rhino people and all of that, when he gets rid of the Pences, things actually start getting done. And that's why I screamed my head off about it. Not that many people are listening with our 200 subscribers, but, you know, that's why. It's not like I hate Trump. It's like when he gets good people in there, like Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy, like when he gets good people in there, there's progress made. And this is progress. This is what we need to see, because this is the heart of the problem.
Yeah.
What we've screamed for forever is the same thing that Mike Benz was screaming. The intelligence agencies are using NGOs, things like the Southern Poverty Law Center, to push certain agenda items. And, you know, the idea that Americans are horribly racist and this desire to kick off a race war and all this crap. Like, all of this is happening through NGOs. And this is what Doge was targeting. And it got quickly dismantled because it was targeting this exact thing. Now, I don't know how much is going to come of this, but this is a good sign. Todd Blanche is still a blank slate in my mind. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but this is a very good sign to me, and I'm extremely happy about it, because this is what is meant by the deep state. This is the thing that needs to be dismantled, and the SPLC is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to have that rant, because we've lost some subscribers, and we got a mean comment about, oh, you shouldn't be complaining about people MAGA like. Well, it's like Trump wanted to get rid of the deep state. You know? And it's not like we want Trump to succeed, but he can't
you
succeed.
Think this is an echo chamber?
Yeah, right. We're supposed to be sycophants, though. You know,
No. I ain't
everything
doing
he
that.
does
I'll
is
tell the
right.
truth.
Everything he does
Trump
is
sucks
right.
sometimes.
Yeah, like when he talks about the Dow.
Or when he ran on draining the swamp, and then he was like, "Oh, we're still talking about the Epstein files."
Yeah. But Epstein's
Yeah, that
tied
was-
to this too. Like this is all part of the same crap. And this is exactly what needs to be happening. This press conference should have happened like 8 months ago. But at least we're here now, and I'm happy to see it. This is a very, very good sign. This is like a sign to me that maybe we might be getting back on track. Because this kind of stuff is what needs to happen. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to rant about that. So, because
Glad you did.
Thank you. Because I'm glad Pam Bondi's gone, and this is why I wanted her gone. Because I wanted to see this.
Because she was in the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was like, "Oh, look at me. I'm
Yeah. It's like, you don't want to hear about all these NGOs. Look at my blonde hair. Look at how blonde I am at 60 years old. Aren't I pretty? So, anyway. So much was said, and there was a lot of different reactions. So I want to look at Matt Walsh's reaction here. I hope I can find the correct comment he made. Because there was something Matt Walsh said that was almost prophetic.
If
What
you've
an
ever
excellent
thought
beard."
that
I know, I'm jealous of that beard. That is like a beautiful beard. I envy it. That's a lot of oil and butter.
everything is a
Overture.
giant psyop, that major events, the kind that dictate the course of American politics, are all fake and engineered, then the news that broke yesterday was as close to a total vindication as you'll ever get. On the other hand, if you thought that color revolutions only happen overseas and that America is immune from successful campaigns of mass deception,
Oh, that's another thing I needed to say. I forgot to say this. One of the reasons that we think it's intelligence operatives controlling these NGOs is because Alex Jones, Glenn Beck, Matt Walsh, a whole list of people have been insisting this is a color revolution, which is the same tactic that the intelligence agencies use in other countries to overthrow their governments. That's being implemented here. And so when you see everything kind of moving in one direction, i.e. this racial strife, people have been suspecting what is called a color revolution. They're attempting to create a color revolution here.
Yeah.
That sounds like intelligence agencies moving behind the strings. So that's one of the reasons I suspect the CIA and FBI and NSA are kind of behind this, or certain people within those agencies are behind this. So I just wanted to mention that. The color revolution angle is one of the reasons why we suspect intelligence agencies.
orchestrated by corrupt political actors to mimic natural grassroots events, then this is a story that you need to hear. The Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, was supposedly the defining moment of Donald Trump's first term in office. That's what we were told relentlessly for years on end by both political parties, along with every mainstream media outlet in the country. It was a mask-off moment in which neo-Nazis, emboldened by Donald Trump, supposedly, violently rioted in the streets, killing an innocent woman in the process. And we were
Was ever
told
paid by
Donald
the
Trump
SPLC?
endorsed.
Yeah, they were all paid by the SPLC. That whole thing. Makes you mad.
It doesn't make me mad. It's just like, sounds about right.
Yeah. But it's like, we all knew, and nobody would look into it for a decade. It wasn't like it was a secret. Alex Jones literally screamed it a decade ago. He said it like a week after. Like, this is why it's even being talked about, and why I'm kind of grouping it in with conspiracy theories, because everybody knew. Everybody talked about it, and then nobody would do any investigation until now.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
These neo-Nazis live on
Better
national
Nate than
television,
Leopard.
calling them very
Sorry, what? Sorry.
I said better Nate than Lever.
Yeah. Yeah.
very fine people. That's what Joe Biden said when he launched his campaign for president, and about 10 million times after that. The rally was definitive proof that white supremacy was alive and well in the United States. Watch.
Colostrum, the
Oh
sweet
my
nectar
gosh.
that is every mammal's first sip. Nature's original formula.
Charlottesville is also home to a defining moment for this nation in the last few years.
All right, we'll play this.
It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. They're crazed.
They were funding the whole stupid thing the entire time.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, let me see if I can find the quote.
Like, yeah, this is a put up. This isn't like, these aren't people.
Yeah. Well, you know, I saw this in Seattle. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but this had gotten so out of control that whenever there was protests in Seattle, they would like protest. One bank would like protest another bank. Like, it was that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, they would like do this almost like a gag. It's what it felt like to me, because they'd be protesting some bank. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was some stupid, nuanced financial thing that wasn't a big deal at all, and there's no reason why people would be out protesting. But it wasn't even that. They had like laminated signs, you know, like these protesters. And I was part of the Tea Party movement, at least a little bit. I took part in one protest outside a news station, and you know what we had for those protests? Magic markers. Like little plastic cardboard laminated things you got at Walmart, a popsicle stick, and a magic marker. You know, that was our protesting. And these guys have like these giant elaborate banners and like laminated signs. And you're sitting there going, there's no way that's organic. I've been at an organic protest. There's no way this is organic at all. So it was just ridiculous. So,
Well, I've told you about the website you can rent a mob from.
Yeah. And I remember when I was working for Joe, there was a guy we interviewed who did that. Like he literally, you know, he was like a protester for hire. He had a company that was like protesting for hire, you know? So like they would pay people and ship them to make it look like a protest was bigger than it was.
Yeah.
Like that's a job. People do that.
It's all just so ridiculous, man.
That should be illegal. I'm like, you can't just pay people to show up randomly.
Well, they
They
do,
and I guess that's what a union does as well.
and they draw taxes on it too.
Yeah. So I didn't
If
want to
the
use
SPLC
this. I didn't want to use this video because he doesn't like Benny Johnson. I like a lot of his news, but he's really bad about the clickbait titles. And so this kind of creates a false...
Joel Osteen on there too.
I don't know who that is. So I didn't want to do this because he doesn't name anybody. I didn't want to use this video, but I think it's going to take too long to find the exact spot on Matt Walsh's show. So I'm just going to take Benny Johnson's clip because I do want to show Matt Walsh predicting the future.
did not fund them, they would not exist. And then Democrats would lose power and the SPLC would run out of money.
I don't know what that was about.
Who among you is the traitor? This is a great question in
Hold on. I got this. Here we go.
this week. And Matt Walsh is saying, you got to name names. We have to know who in the conservative ecosystem.
So I guess I should preface this first. I didn't do a good enough job with that. So the other thing is people are beginning to suspect that certain right-wing influencers are being paid. So there's a psyop to add bad actors into the right-wing podcasting movement. So this is kind of fed into that suspicion, which you know, that suspicion preceded the press conference by the FBI, but Matt Walsh extrapolated on that.
Is the traitor? Who are the Judases? Who is taking money from the hate groups in order to set up their fellow countrymen? Sometimes people just, you know, wanting to go and protest a stolen election, right? Like, who was setting those people up? Matt Walsh is saying that there are traitors in our ranks. Here we go.
Now, it's the kind of strategy that's effective because unless you're extremely familiar with how depraved left-wing activists are, it would never occur to you that they're doing any of this. But they feel a need to do it because otherwise there would be no right-wing hate groups. If the SPLC did not fund them, they would not exist. And then Democrats would lose power and the SPLC would run out of money.
Do that with acrobat. Grab your docs, your permits, your...
YouTube is getting absolutely ridiculous with these ads. Like, this is just...
It depends on the creator.
Depends on the creator. You think the creators are the ones doing this?
Yeah, you pick how monetized you are.
Ah. Well, this is getting out of control, man. I'm getting tired of it.
That's the same reason that your antivirus software bugs you all the time. If your antivirus software told you the truth, which is that you really don't need to pay for antivirus software anymore, then obviously nobody would subscribe. So instead, they pester you with fake threats and scare tactics. And it's kind of the same principle, except in the case of the SPLC, they were having a substantial effect on American politics. Now, the more you read this indictment, the more you realize how shameless it was. According to the DOJ, the SPLC was paying the same Klan members that it was complaining about by name on its website. So I got to say, as an aside, I'm starting to get a little frustrated because, again, I was also listed on their website of extremists. They put me on the list. They had my photo up and everything, and I was on their hate map as somebody who absolutely must be stopped. And yet, for all of this, I wasn't paid a single cent at any point. I served as general hate without any compensation whatsoever. Meanwhile, the KKK wizards were just like raking it in. Now, of course, all kidding aside, SPLC was not offering money to genuine conservatives who are effective at advancing conservatism. The idea was to fund and prop up the alleged right-wingers who were useful to SPLC and the left. And I suspect that soon, whether through this investigation or those to come, we're gonna find out that there are a fair number of alleged conservative figures, the most embarrassing and ridiculous ones, who've been getting paid by the forces they pretend to oppose. You know, there's a symbiotic relationship between left-wing activist groups and the supposedly right-wing grifters. And this relationship has always been obvious. Now we're learning about its financial dimensions.
Matt Walsh saying we have to name names.
So that was his prediction earlier in the week. And then, of course, I kind of thought it was, good luck proving it type of deal. But then something very interesting happened. Let me see if I can find it here. Alrighty. So this was Jeremy from D-Day Cobra the next day.
I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm not totally sure that this is legit. Well, guess what? I think that there's a little bit more to it because Ian Carroll, someone that I have complained about a lot, Candace Owens, someone I've complained about a lot, and Nick Fuentes, someone I've talked about a lot, they all are kind of disappearing after the news of the SPLC investigation. Very, very interesting.
So yes, all three of them vanished right after the investigation. They decided to take a hiatus. This was Candace Owens' tweet. So we got, no show today. Sorry. I thought I had announced I was traveling with my family. See you guys next week.
And she always does a show, no matter what.
Yeah. It was just out of the wild blue yonder all of a sudden, and she's gone. So I don't know if...
So she can't keep up the facade for even one day after stopping the money flow, even though she's married to royalty? That doesn't make sense. She didn't care about that.
I don't know what was going on. But it just so happened the next day after the SPLC and after Matt Walsh had predicted it, she's like, oh, I forgot to tell you guys. It's vacation. I'm gone. See you next week. Very weird timing. Very weird timing. Don't know if she's being paid, but weird timing. So Candace Owens had to, this is Laura Loomer, who I guess they're having a tiff. Candace Owens had to abruptly cancel her show today and travel abroad. She never alerted her audience of her travel plans. So, yes, and then she insists that... Now, she's saying, let's see here. Interesting how she's fleeing the country the same day I reported that her Zionist Jewish lawyer dropped her ahead of an important deadline in her lawsuit with the Macrons next week. Remember, I exposed her secret trust when she's hiding nearly $12 million in real estate among the assets. Her other lawyer's firm specializes in bankruptcy. Is she moving her money abroad and hiding assets abroad so she can file for bankruptcy? She's fleeing the country. So people are saying it. Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the SPLC thing. But we'll read the whole thing in, the spirit of disclosure. But she thinks it's her moving $12 million. But anyway, bottom line is next day she was gone. Now, let me see here. Ian Carroll had another interesting tweet. So, something funny, good sir, while I look this up.
Oh, that little clip of the whoever pushing Candace in the wheelchair.
Yeah. Ian Carroll, is that his name? Okay, so Ian Carroll. All right, how do the Trump? Let's see if I can find it. Nope, I think it's gone. Anyway, Ian Carroll said because somebody died, he was gone for a while, and nobody bought that. And then I don't know if Nick Fuentes has actually said anything or not, but he too disappeared. So now he's just complaining about Trump here. Okay, so this is his response for the SPLC thing, though. We will read this really quick. So, the new line that I worked with the SPLC is the laziest Fed jacketing narrative yet. I was 18 when I went to Charlottesville. That's the other thing. Nick Fuentes was actually at Charlottesville when it happened. So, and then he got very popular afterwards. So people are going, Nick, was it you, buddy? And he's going, that is an absurd lie. The SPLC doxed my house in 2022, which led me to almost getting murdered, got me censored.
That's true.
Doxed my interns, and got friends of mine fired from their jobs. So he is saying that SPLC wasn't paying him. The other two are not denying it. They just fled. But apparently Nick Fuentes is... Yeah, that's more of a denial than the other two. So you remember when he almost got murdered? Like I don't follow him. So
freaking Reddit troll came to his house with a gun.
Was it a Reddit troll or was it the SPLC? Somebody connected to them, or
it was the SPLC thing. But it was I don't know. It was like the Reddit troll type,
Yeah.
Just a gooned out weirdo.
Gotcha. So that's Nick Fuentes' response. Time will tell. Anyway, apparently they're all gone. That's very strange timing that they would all three leave at once. But maybe he isn't. Who knows? So
we'll see.
That is the situation. I mean, I was kind of suspecting that somebody was getting paid, but I just didn't know who. I'll tell you, it'd be funny. It would be really funny. I'm not saying this is true, but it would be really funny to me if both Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson turned out to be feds because they were accusing each other of being feds. That would just make that interview hilarious. It'd be like Spider-Man pointing at other Spider-Mans. It'd just make me so happy if they were both feds. So maybe that's why the interview was so civil. It's like, you're a fed? Well, I'm a fed too. Let's be besties. So that would just make me smile.
Be best feds together.
But who knows? Who knows? So that is the situation with the SPLC. Now, the last thing I wanted to do before we close out tonight, just to quell my own curiosity, is back in 2022, I wrote an article about Charlottesville. And to be honest, I don't remember what I actually thought. Whether I thought it was something that was a legitimate organic movement, or whether it was something that was like the SPLC paid for. I don't even know if I mentioned it. But I was, asked to write an article about Charlottesville, and so I chose to write an article about where the ideology comes from. And so that led me down a rabbit hole. And so I thought it would be interesting to just read my article from 2 years ago and make fun of me if I said something stupid. It would make me happy. I don't know if it'd make anybody else happy, but it'd make me happy. So
Let's do it.
all right. Let's see if 3 years ago, let's see if 4-year-old me was the me from 4 years ago was a moron. So yeah. In his new book, Darwinian Racism, How Darwinism Influenced Hitler, Nazism, and White Nationalism, historian Richard Weikart devotes a chapter to explaining the continuing influence of Darwinian racism in American society today, including its connections to the alt-right. It's a topic that we've covered before at Evolution News, but it deserves more attention. Unfortunately, in recent years, the term alt-right has been misused as something of a catch-all for conservatism. That's a slander. Most conservatives have nothing to do with the actual alt-right. In reality, the alt-right has an ideology of its own, a mix of both left-leaning and right-leaning elements. But their various positions are united by one belief that the white race is genetically superior. And as Weikart points, they draw toxic inspiration from the claims of Darwinian biology. Understanding the alt-right and claiming that the white race is superior, alt-right articles and podcasts cite certain early 20th century social Darwinists. 3 of these thinkers are Madison Grant, Sir Francis Galton, and Lothrop Stoddard. The last of these 3, perhaps a less familiar man, served as a director for Margaret Sanger's Planned Parenthood. The ideas of the social Darwinists permeate the alt-right ideology. Some years ago, Richard Spencer, an alt-right writer, most notably recognized for his role in Charlottesville Unite the Right demonstration in 2017. Now, he might have been one of the guys they were directly paying, Spencer, because after Charlottesville, he vanished. He completely vanished. So, interviewed thinker and painter Jonathan Bowden on Spencer's podcast Vanguard. The episode is titled The E-Word, Eugenics and Environmentalism, Madison Grant and Lothrop Stoddard. During their interview, Spencer and Bowden not only detail the history of the eugenics movement, they defend it, even attempting to connect eugenics with both abortion and environmentalism, using Grant as their justification. They argue that if the left could only embrace the notion that some men and women are genetically inferior, then they could deal with the environment effectively. Academic language and a harsh message. During the podcast, Bowden states, if one eschews the politics of human rights in a grandstanding and universalist way and sees human identity and glory in very much an individual or localized manner, then deep green and ecological ideas have a lot to say to all forms of conservatism that wish to preserve and restore as against that which is transitory and that which is to our end and which is purely and only concerned with human life to the detriment of the ecology without which mankind could subsist. These men have a habit of using academic language to mask their harsh message. What he's basically saying is that if we just get rid of this troublesome notion of human rights, we could deal with the overpopulation and save the environment. When it comes to abortion, both Bowden and Spencer consider it a backwards form of eugenics. As Spencer explains, they, the elites, are in some ways pursuing negative eugenics in the sense that they are certainly much more willing to abort a child with Down syndrome or so on. And that, of course, can be discovered in the womb. In some ways, one could also suggest that eugenics is still living on. And Bowden adds, I also think it's important to realize that essentially what's happened is that 2 concepts have been conflated into one another in order to summarily dispatch both. This is the idea of eugenics as against dysgenics. Dysgenics, which is, if you like, the negative side effects of eugenics, whereby you act as though as to prevent harm, but you also act as to, in some senses, prevent life through abortion or through selective contraceptive use or through sterilization. The proactive and yet sort of snip-oriented and negative side of eugenics is its really controversial feature. The wholesome side, the building people up, the tonics for the brave sort of side, is one which only the most nihilistic and sordid left-winger would be opposed to because they find nauseous the idea of happy, athletic, intellectual, precocious families beaming for the camera in an Osmond-liked way, you know. Both Bowden and Spencer blame the public's rejection of eugenics on the move away from Galton's understanding of Darwinism after the Second World War. Spencer says, you were talking about the academic side of the issue and the fact that so many of these researchers who were quite predisposed to Galton Darwinism, eugenics, that switched. Is that part of the so-called Bosnian revolution in anthropology? What I mean is that, of course, Franz Bonds, who was a sworn enemy of Madison Grant. Bowden affirms Spencer's suspicion and then adds a revealing statement about the motive behind this switch. He comments, yes, I do think it happened in a certain context, though. I think that people who supported eugenics found that unless they found a different vocabulary for it, their support couldn't be sustained in polite society. Okay, so that is extremely long. Oh, wait, I'm almost done. I'm sorry, I almost gave up there. So, hang on. Eugenics is a worthy practice. Regarding this switch, the two conclude their conversation when Spencer says, when you had baby boomers and our generation, you were essentially having people who were influenced by Bosnian anthropology. They did not think in terms of Galton and let's call it classical Darwinism. Really, those people lost the battle, and this is the reason why eugenics has kind of vanished after the Second World War. These two think eugenics was a worthy practice, and they lament that it is no longer openly used. Spencer surmises his thoughts on the subject. What do you think about our unique ability to reclaim conservatism or naturalism, and how much, like Grant, that should be a major cause for us, which is to keep the world green and beautiful and to fight things like a terrible overpopulation that you see in some kind of horrifying city like Mexico City or Sao Paulo. We want quality over quality. We want to live on a beautiful earth. Sorry, were you going to say something, Cody?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody. I'm reading so fast I'm barely registering what I'm reading. I'll go ahead and stop. I got to say, the me from 4 years ago is smarter than the me now. I don't even know what I'm saying. So
That happens sometimes.
as best as I can tell, I think what I was getting at here was basically that they used abortion to replace eugenics. That seems to be the idea. But what's interesting is that Spencer...
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. But Spencer was pushing abortion, which is a leftist policy, and yet he's considered part of the alt-right. That kind of lends credence to the idea that the SPLC was paying him or something, because these guys were secretly leftists, but they were trying to, merge ideologies or something.
Well, I mean, if you're on one side, you want to get rid of the other side. So if you're like alt-right, you want to get rid of all the left,
Yeah. So why have abortion?
You're going to push eugenics.
Yeah. So why have abortion? Why? I don't know. I think they're just trying to infect the movement, I think. So.
No, he's pushing abortion because that's the people he wants gone. He wants the right people, or the alt-right people to live. That's eugenics.
Yeah. Well, abortion is concentrated around minorities. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what, from his perspective, it's like, that's why we want abortion, because we want to, kill off the minorities, that kind of thing. But that's not a right policy. So it's like they're calling him alt-right, but I'm like, you can't be on the right if you're like, you can't be that on the right if you're for
it's
abortion.
It's all demon shit, dude. There's no left, right. It's all demon shit.
That's true. That's true.
They want human sacrifice. That's it.
They want human sacrifice. Well, they want the authority to kill. That's what they're all about. They like the idea of being able to kill without consequence. So
control.
Well, I'm somewhat relieved. I was afraid I was going to say something to the effect of the alt-right created Charlottesville. Thankfully, I just stuck to the history, but it's been so long, I don't remember all the details. But, it's surreal.
It's getting late, boys.
Yeah, it's surreal reading an article like that. It is getting late. Anyway, so that's the SPLC. I'm glad that they're going to hopefully go to jail. I'm glad that a jury indicted them. And I consider this a step in the right direction, which is good because we've had like 14 months of crap. So hopefully we start shifting. But anyway, so Trevor, you got any final thoughts? You're awfully quiet.
Hopefully we start shifting.
Yeah. And I apologize for reading so fast. was just trying to get through it, but then I got lost and I just kept going. So yeah. Okay, well, I think that's everything I've got. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right, I don't have any either.
Nope.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up for the night. Tonight kind of derailed a little bit, but that's okay. Glad Trump's all right. Glad everybody's okay. And, hopefully this will be the last one because this is getting disquieting. But anyway. All right. That's all we got, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Doses.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.